What's good, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning into episode 32 of Tune Check. My name is Cris. I'm your host. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. Hope you guys all enjoyed the music that came out on Friday. We had a couple artists drop from like singles to like other albums and mixtapes and stuff. We had Coco Jones. She dropped a new song off her album that's coming out, I think, in like a month or two. It's called You. Jazzy dropped a single called Maybe. Naomi Sharing dropped a song called Can We Do This Over? Isaiah Falls and Odell dropped a song called Searching. Callie's Way dropped an EP called Take Me Back. I really enjoyed this EP. I thought it was fire. It was like a lot of 90s R&B kind of music. Akia dropped the EP called Dumb. Conception dropped a single, No Option. Ari Lennox dropped her song Soft Girl Era. She's been teasing this and been teasing the music for a while. This song was kind of like her pre-girl rock, to be honest. I was really enjoying it. I thought it was dope. And she dropped it on her birthday, so I think that's definitely really dope and cool. Big Sean and GT dropped their song FTW. This song was fire, yo. Big Sean really just slid on this. He walked on this beat, and I really just need him to give me a tour. This man just keeps playing. Like, just take my money. I'm trying to give it to you voluntarily. The Boy dropped the album too called Heart of a Lion. I know Lil Durk dropped, but I'm not a Lil Durk fan. Like I can't get into his music at all. From all the songs that people like recommend to me to listen to, I've heard them. I played some of his albums. I tried, but I just can't get into Lil Durk. So that's why I didn't want to do a review for his album because it's just an artist that I'm not really a fan of. I just don't like his music, to be honest. It's not really for me. We all have artists where like we just can't get into them. I know you guys could relate. So please don't kill me in the comments or like anywhere else. Like just accept it, please. But shout out to him though. He dropped an album. I've seen nothing but good things about it. So, congrats to him. I know he still has his case ongoing for the issues that he had a couple months ago that I brought up on my other episodes. But on this episode, like every other episode, we're just gonna talk about the news. And then at the end, I got like three album reviews that I want to get into. First piece of news piggybacks off my last two episodes. Playboi Carti. So all 30 songs from his album Music debuted on the Hot 100 simultaneously. I think that's great. Like 30% of the chart is just his album. That's amazing. He's really making numbers with this album. He already had traction, but this definitely has given him a lot of traction. Like, well, I've been hearing people play his album everywhere. He dropped the video for FOMDJ. This is a song off one of the deluxe versions of his album. And he keeps teasing Baby Boy. Like he's commenting on posts saying that Baby Boy dropping soon. I'm not sure if it's really gonna drop this year. It might come out next year, considering that he's probably trying to ride the wave from his album Music, like until it's completely done. But I feel like Baby Boy is not really dropping anytime soon. I think it's probably gonna come out next year. It's gonna come out sooner than Music did for sure. Like it's not gonna take like 3, 4 years for it to drop. And his album Music is also projected to stay at number one on Billboard's 200 for a second week in a row. It sold 130K units. By the time this episode comes out on Monday, it most likely will be number one, and it's probably going to sell a couple more units maybe. And I like that he's doing these numbers. I love that he's really out here. People are listening to him, tuning in. People really were waiting on this album. But speaking about, somebody constantly on the charts, we got Kendrick Lamar. His song, Not Like Us, becomes the longest charting solo rap song inside the Billboard's top 10. It spent 27 weeks on the chart. It surpasses God's Plan by Drake and Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD. But in other Kendrick news, The Hard Part 6 is also the ninth song from GNX to reach 100 million streams. I think that's fire. The Hard Part 6 is a great song. I love his Heart series. GNX is a dope album. I've said it multiple times. My favorite songs are Reincarnated. I play that song like every other day. Like I know it word for word. I love the Tupac sample. Peekaboo is one of my favorites for life. Like that song is a song that I always go back and play. I like TV Off as well. Squabble Up was one of my favorite songs too, but it got played out because everybody just listens to it everywhere now. Same thing with Luther. It's a great song, but I find it annoying now, to be honest, because it's just everywhere. But I'm excited for his tour. Like I'm really like waiting for it to happen. It's a month away. I know it's going to be better than the Mr. Morale, the Big Steppers tour that I went to. So I'm really excited for this. I want to get some merch. Like I'm telling y'all, when I come back from that tour, the next episode I'm recording, I'm gonna have that shirt on. Like I'm really anticipating this tour and other tours as well. But speaking about breaking records and continuing to break records, we got Drake. He became the first rapper this year to surpass 4 billion streams on Spotify. He's also the most streamed rapper of the year so far. And he went back to being the rapper with the most daily streams as well. So, as a lot of people want to discredit this man's career and say like this and that, just hate on him for no reason, but he's still being listened to by a lot of people. People in the comments be like, not by me, not by me, but most likely there's a song that you're playing by him because there's no way. But like he said, behind closed doors, there's a lot of six God worshiping. We got Chris Brown next. So he announced his Breezy Bowl stadium tour. It celebrates 20 years that he's been in the music industry. I think that's fire anniversary tour. He just did a stadium tour in South Africa and in Brazil back in December. He's really trying to bring this stadium tour everywhere. He tagged Summer Walker and Bryson Tiller, and that's dope. Bryson had a great album last year. Summer Walker has an album coming out as well, so that's definitely good traction from all of them. Chris Brown's been working on new music as well. 1111 just won a Grammy. Chris Brown is an amazing performer. I've seen him on tour back in July, and I'm going to this one as well. Like, I don't care. Pre-sales in like a couple of days. I signed up and everything. Like, I'm definitely gonna pull up. He even posted on IG with this caption as well. He even said that he's doing the meet and greets, those meet and greets that be like $1,000 something that everybody started doing after he started doing them. But like I said, I'm looking forward to this. I'm definitely trying to go. It's gonna be fire. But another piece of news that made headlines a couple of days ago, very sad news. Young Scooter, a rapper from Atlanta, he was signed under Future's Free Bands label. He was one of the first artists to be signed under Future's label, Free Bands. He's worked with like Gucci Mane, the Migos. He unfortunately, passed away a few days ago on his 39th birthday. So from the reports and everything, there was an incident in the house that he was in. The police arrived at the scene and two men, one of the men was him, basically just ran. So the other guy came back to the house that he ran away from, but young Scooter like hopped two fences and he injured his leg. People were saying that shots were being fired before the police arrived and that the woman involved was being dragged inside the house. One of the men who ran came back. The police found young Scooter like over the fence and they saw that he injured his leg. I'm not sure if a full, autopsy's been released yet. I think it's still in the works. Maybe by the time this episode comes out, they'll probably like have the full autopsy, but there's speculation that he broke his femur and that it ruptured arteries around that area and he basically just bled out. And all of this is just like sad to hear, especially that it's on his birthday as well. Prayers for his family, prayers for his kids. That's just crazy. We lost so many artists within the past couple years. And it's just the way that it's happening is like mad fast. And it's just like, damn, like people really just keep passing away left and right. But like I said, I hope his family, takes the time to get better and heal from this, and especially his kids. Rest in peace, young Scooter. On some more serious news, we got YG. He released a song called 2004. On here, he speaks about how he pretty much was, sexually assaulted when he was a kid, when he was 14, by a woman who was 30 at the time. It was the aunt of the girl that he was dating at the time. I didn't expect the song to be about this, like as soon as it released, it made headlines. It was released on the Breakfast Club first. They released it on their platform and they spoke about what was going on and what happened in the song and what he speaks about. So I heard it on Friday and it's just like, dang, like it starts off with like this really dope beat that gets you like moving and stuff. And the first line that he hits you with is about him being sexually assaulted. The whole song is just him describing the experience and like why he treats females how he does, why his relationships never last, and why he can't really trust anybody. And also why he's closed off when it comes to certain people. And you could even hear like how traumatic it is for him. Like, and it's just very sad that things like this happen and people are just not comfortable speaking out about it. And, it's understandable because it's a lot and it definitely affects you mentally. But I'm happy that, he put this in the song, he used this platform to pretty much let everybody know what happened and that this happens to a lot of people, daily, especially as a man. He put this out there. A lot of men don't like speaking about their issues and about like their traumatic experiences and anything that happened to them. And I'm happy that he's using this as an example to let people know that it's okay to speak about things, that it's okay to talk about stuff, especially when you're a man, because a lot of men, like I said, they're very closed off. And this happens frequently to a lot of people. And that's just very scary and very disturbing. So I hope that he's gotten the help that he needs, and I hope that he continues to get the help that he needs. I hope that his circle, is there for him and like speak to him, make sure he's good. But, thank you to YG for just feeling comfortable enough to speak out about this and to just let people know what's going on and to pretty much help people have a voice in these situations, build up that strength and courage to speak out. But, let's change up the mood. Let's get back into like brighter things. So Dolla $, he released a clip of him in the studio, working on a song for his album Tycoon.
Love in all the wrong places. It can't be yours, but I might let you taste it.
This song, I love how it sounds. I love the clip that I shown on one of my, earlier episodes as well. But this sounded really good. I was really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to his album Tycoon to drop. I'm not sure if there's a release date. I know he's been working on music and he's gonna be featured on Wiz Khalifa's album that drops in April. He's been doing really good with his collab albums and his features recently. He's always doing good. It's just a fact now. Ty Dolla $ign is just him, to be honest. Like he's really a dope artist, a great creative person. And I'm really looking forward to his album. I think it's gonna be like one of the best albums of this year if it comes out this year or next year. But hopefully he hits us with a release date very soon. Then speaking about new music, we got Young Thug next. So it looks like he's going to be a headliner at Summer Smash. People are speculating that he has new music dropping soon. On Friday, he posted up a photo of himself that went viral. So he was at a basketball game with Mariah the Scientist, and they both pretty much held up jerseys. One saying 05 and the other one saying 27. Then he posted this later. Then on Friday, he posted this picture up on Instagram. And the caption was today, but he didn't even drop nothing. Like he just really just gassed it and didn't do nothing with anything. So I really don't know if he has anything coming like out soon. He also has some tweets going viral and stuff. He had me and everybody gassed up, but nothing came out. This was all posted on his second Instagram account. Everybody's doing like a second Finsta or something now. It's crazy. But he also teased like a new track on his Finsta account.
If a million was 100 feet, I'd grab it. Post office thugger, I'ma get a package.
So maybe we got something coming 5/27, like the shirts say. But I'm excited for some new music for him. I'm excited to see what it's going to sound like and what he's going to rap about. He has restrictions on music that he's going to make from his legal case that ended, last year. But that's it for the news. So like I said, there's 3 albums that I want to talk about. The first one is from Nemzzz. It's called Rent Due. 14 songs, 30 minutes long. The features are Central C and Kyle Rich. This is an album that I've been anticipating personally because I really enjoy Nemzz's music. I think he's a dope rapper, dope UK rapper. His last album from last year, Do Not Disturb, is an album that I've been playing nonstop since last year. The replay value on that album is insane. I love it. I enjoyed it. So I wasn't expecting anything less on here. So let's just jump into it. The first track is called Cold. This is a single he released back in February to promote the album. So on this track, he raps about, his past and about everything before he reached, this level of fame that he has. This beat is like one of the best like rap beats I've heard so far, to be honest. I really, really enjoyed this beat. The jazz sample was amazing. I love the saxophone. I love the kicks in the back. This beat was literally cold, just like how the title track is. It was really fire. Nemzzz really slid on this. His delivery and his flow is like mad rhythmic and it really helped like elevate the song. I think he did a really good job on this intro. All albums should have a great intro, and this is just an example of it. Track 2 is called Motion. So here he's rapping about a girl that he wants to be with, that he chooses to be with. My only issue with this song is that I wish it was longer. His flow is top tier on this track. I think he did a great job. Track number 3 is called Turks and Caicos. On here is just rapping and just like kind of flexing his bread, like letting people know that he has this, he has that they really can't compete with him. I feel like a lot of rappers make this kind of song where they just be talking about their bread and just flexing and showing off and everything. Like, hey, I could do this, I could do that, but you can't, you know what I mean? So this one, it was fire. The beat was dope, but it wasn't nothing like really crazy to talk about. The next track is called DTM. This beat was probably one of my favorite beats on this album. The drums and the violin sample in the back like was crazy. Like I didn't really expect to like this song as much as I did. Like the production on this track was just amazing. His delivery on this track was fire. He came like how he was supposed to. He kind of repeats the same theme as the last song, but the production honestly really just carried him on this track. This is like one of the best produced tracks I've heard this year. The song after that is called Dilemma. This features Central C. They both walked on this track. They really just slid on this whole thing, and both of their styles just really complement each other. Central C had a great album come out this year as well, back in January. Go check it out. The next song is called Miami. I didn't like the song as much, mostly because of the feature. It features Kyle Rich. He's the second feature on this album. And to be honest, he kind of really didn't sound good on this track. He really sounds like Ice Spice, but just with a deeper voice. Like he has like the same flow as her. And I thought it was just corny. His verses weren't that good. Like, I don't know why Nemzzz chose him to be on this song or even as a feature on this album. I feel like Nemzzz should have just done this track by himself, to be honest, because Kyle Rich really just ruined it and didn't bring anything to the table. We just had Central C who did a great job. So for Kyle Rich to really just come onto this album and not really do as good is very disappointing. Track 7 is called Ego. On here, he switches up the theme. He speaks about how people pretty much just switch up on him and that he's not with it. He doesn't care because at the end of the day, he's just doing him. And as quiet as he could be, people still want to mess with him and like, fuck up his bag and whatnot. This was pretty much his, like FU song. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was dope. Track 8 is called Sorry. So on here, he's rapping, about a partner that he has, that he's happy with her, and and that he finds it like very difficult to balance his career and his relationship with her because at the end of the day, he's just chasing the bag and that's what he wants. But he does want to make her happy and be there for her, which I get. The bag is probably everybody's most important priority. And you really can't make everybody happy, to be honest. Sometimes you gotta like sacrifice certain things. The next song is called Bad Girl Riri. This kind of follows the same theme as the previous song. So it kind of seems like that relationship he had on track number 8 is really over at this point. He mentions how he's looking at older pics and regrets what happens basically. The next two songs is BMF, and then the other one is Bad Decisions. So these two songs are basically like the same thing with just different beats, honestly. Bad Decision is like, a nice drill beat. It's different from his heavy trap beats and grind beats on this album. And on both tracks, he's rapping about a female and how bad she is. It was a bit repetitive, but I did like the transition between BMF to Bad Decisions. I thought that was like very clean. Track 12 is Stop It. On here, he's pretty much telling people just stop the cap, like stop lying, you don't got this. Like you acting like you got this money, but you can't even buy this. You can't even go into the store and buy that. You can't buy none of these brands. Like, y'all don't got it like me. That's pretty much what he's saying. I love this beat. And again, this song has a sample with strings in it. And I thought it was dope. The production so far on this album has been top tier. And then the last two tracks are No Detail and Paid. Again, he's repeating himself a lot. He's flexing his money and also talking about women that he wants to be with, that he's really just getting the bag, that's his overall priority. He doesn't care about nothing else. So he's kind of like closing the album off how he started it in a way. On the first track he speaks about his past and the success that he has now, but then on the last one he kind of continues that and it's like, yeah, I'm all about the bag. Forget all of this, forget all of that. This is what I want to do. This is what I need. I'm on a mission right now. But overall, I really enjoyed this album. I thought it was fire. The beat and the productions were amazing here. And that's what really sold me because these are probably some of the best beats I've heard this year so far. The replay value on this album is crazy. I've been playing this a crazy amount of times since it came out on Friday. I've really been enjoying this. I love his flow and delivery on here. With every project that he releases, he just gets better and better. His musical growth is amazing, and I'm excited to see, what else he comes out with. I would love to see him on tour, so hopefully we get some tour dates after this, maybe in the next couple days. No. But definitely check this album out. It's called Rent Stew. Then the second album that I reviewed is Nav On My Way to Rexdale. This has 14 songs, 37 minutes long. The features are Don Toliver, Playboi Carti, The Weeknd, and Metro Boomin. I'm not the biggest Nav fan. I try to like listen to some of his other works at times, but some of them are misses, some of them aren't, in my opinion. And no, this is not a Lil Durk situation. I know I brought up Durk in the beginning, but it's not the same thing. Like, I do have Nav songs that I like on my phone and some projects that I like. Like one of my most disappointing Nav projects is Perfect Timing with Metro Boomin. I remember specifically that year that it was supposed to drop, that night that it came out, I was really getting hyped up for it. I'm like, damn, I really like Metro Boomin. Some of my friends at that time were listening to Nav like crazy, trying to put me on. I was like, I'll check it out. I was really like anticipating it. I was getting hyped up. I'm like, damn, it's about to be fire. And when I heard it, I just felt so disappointed because it really wasn't that good. And people was really lying to my face, like, yo, this is fire. I'm like, nah, bro, it's not. Like, it's really not. But that was just an example of like him being like a miss for me sometimes. But it's been a minute since he dropped the album. I think his last drop was in 2022, so it's been 3 years. But let's get into this review. The first track is called Sinking. To be honest, I enjoyed this opening. I thought this was a fire intro. He was real vulnerable here. He was rap singing about him being alone, drug abuse, that he's reaching out for help and that there's no one there for him. I really like the auto tune that he used on his voice. Definitely helped with his rap singing, and it was honestly a perfect blend, especially with the guitar and the synths. The background vocals from the choir was great. This song was giving me like a lot of PNB vibes, and PNB Rock is a great artist. Rest in peace to him. As I was listening to it, I was, pretty happy. I'm like, "Oh, first track." I'm like, "This sounds mad promising right now. This is amazing." But then I get to track 2. And on track 2, the second track is called You, and I'm just like, "Damn, it's starting the fall off." So this features Don Toliver. This beat was fire. Like, it was fire. I really enjoyed this beat. I thought it was dope. I loved how dark it sounded, but Nav didn't really do his thing on here. He did a great job on the intro, so I'm just like, what happened here? Like, I was very confused. I felt like he didn't really try as hard as he was supposed to. And even Don Toliver couldn't save the song. Don Toliver is a great artist, a great melodic rapper, makes music like this all the time, and it sounds amazing, but I was surprised that Don Toliver didn't really deliver a great verse on here. Like, it was very, like, shocking to me, especially considering he just released Hearthstone Cycle, which is a great album. This wasn't his best verse at all. I don't know if maybe Nav felt, like, intimidated by Don Toliver, or if Don Toliver just didn't really want to try his best. Not really too sure what happened here. I feel like Nav should have used the auto-tune from, like, the first track on here. But I did enjoy the transition to track 3, which is called Stay Up. When I get to track 3, I'm like, "Yo, why didn't you just give this energy on track 2? Or why didn't you just not put track 2 on the album at all?" You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, damn. But I'm happy he brought it back. He raps about a girl that he wants, just like the last track, but this sounded like so much better because of the auto-tune and his flow. It felt like he was really into it. Track 4 is called Burbs, and this song was fire too. His flow was great on this track. The beat on this song is probably one of my favorite beats on this album, but he kind of contradicts himself because the first couple of tracks he speaks about how, he's lonely. And on here he says that they pay him to be a loner, and that, he raps about his past and how good he has it right now compared to that, about how he's underrated and should be bigger than what he is, which is true. I feel like he should be a little bigger than what he is. I kind of hated how this ended because it sounded like something else was gonna like happen. It sounded like a beat was building up, or like a beat switch, or maybe like he picks up the tempo, but it just ended, and then it does like a little fade away. I thought that was kind of whack. I didn't really enjoy that. I was really expecting something else because of the last couple seconds. He gasses it up a little bit. Then the track after that is Unlimited, and to be honest, this is probably the best track on this album. Playboi Carti slid on this beat. He really did his thing. I was catching myself saying rock out like the entire time I was listening to this, and even after. His hook on this song is fire. His verse on the song is amazing too. Nav was good as well, but to be honest, Cardi and The Weeknd really stole the shine from him on this. They really just carried him. The Weeknd was a surprise feature. Not really much of a surprise to be honest, but whatever. But the beat was fire. It sounded like some like superhero song, like somebody's about to come in and save the day. And the way The Weeknd came in was really dope too. He didn't really say much. He was just really giving vocals, and it was still fire. I feel like this is like another Weeknd and Cardi track that just shows how great they are on the song together. Track 6 is called Back to Business. And this is what I was talking about, bro. Like, this is how Nav needed to come on track 2. Like, Nav really slid on this, man. Out of all the times, the way that Nav attacked this song was amazing. The way that he just came on, his delivery, his flow was fire. He ate this beat up. In the beginning, he says, "Yo, I want to rap now." And that's exactly what he did, bro. Like, he really just brought that heat. I loved it. I was feeling it. He was talking his shit. He was really like just doing his thing. Man's really just locked in the studio for like 3 minutes when he made this. Like, that meme of people just walking out the studio with fire on them? Like, that was Nav after this song. Like, for real, he really did his thing. The transition to You and I was so beautiful. That's track 7. That transition was amazing. Like, it was one of the most beautifulest transition. Beautifulest isn't even a word, I think, but it was one of those fire transitions, and it's amazing. Again, he killed it. His rap singing with that dark emo, type of beat was amazing. The sample of the lady saying "you and I" in the background was fire. The line where he said "got me feeling too alive even when it's for tonight," that was a fire bar. I thought it was dope. I thought it was funny, but it was a good bar though, because he was rapping about doubles before that line. If he had put Don Toliver on this song instead of song number 2, it would have been fire. Don Toliver would have ate this up. But he basically just raps about like spoiling somebody, with luxury stuff, about a female and everything that he likes. Track number 8 is One of None. It reminded me of Gunna's One of One. I don't know if that was a diss to him or not, but who knows? I'm not sure if they're cool or anything, considering that Nav has issues with, Young Thug and But it seems like Young Thug has issues with Gunna, and then Lil Baby doesn't have a relationship with Gunna, like he said. So not really too sure. I love the distortion on this song. I love how he used it on his voice for certain lines. The only thing I felt that was misplaced was the transition towards the end. He changed the beat and switched up the flow. And I feel like he didn't need to do that considering that this track was close to perfect. The next song is Need You. He continued the theme of relationships and he raps about how the other person makes him feel. So he took what he was talking about on the previous song and just really explored it a little bit more. This track, he was a bit open about this relationship and how he feels towards it. But I do feel like this track wasn't one of his strongest, to be honest. Track 10 is Real Me. This track is the one that Metro Boomin produced, and this beat was fire. But I don't know why, but Nav didn't really give the best verse on here and the best delivery on this beat. I feel like the beat really just carried him. Like a few times on this album, his singing felt kind of off, and this was one of these moments. But I don't think he did a good job on this beat. I don't think he did a good job at all. Track 11 is Red. This song was alright. It wasn't nothing crazy. He talks about drug use again and how he wants to be alone. The first half of the song was cool, but then the beat switched into the middle and it kept the flow from like the first half basically. But it was alright overall. Like it wasn't nothing crazy. Then the next song, Keep Going, sounded like some of his previous songs on this album. He didn't really switch up his flow. The production was good, but it was just very repetitive. But he kind of contradicts himself again about having money and how, he isn't happy because he got it. It's like just very weird. And then after Keep Going, we got Get to You. This song was kind of a miss too. He raps about his relationship, Paint Away was fire. I love the beat and I loved his voice. It was a good way to end the album since he opened up about his drug abuse and relationships again. So I like how he brought it back to that similar feeling as the beginning. And the beat was amazing. I really enjoyed it as well. But overall, I give this album like a solid 7 out of 10. There was a couple misses that I mentioned that I wasn't really enjoying. He raps about subjects that he usually makes music about, like relationships, drug abuse, emotional struggles. He kind of goes for like a trap and beat kind of sound on certain tracks when he sings. But at times his singing wasn't that great. He kind of plays it safe a little bit in regards to that. He uses a lot of the same bars and lyrics on certain tracks. The themes sounded more overused than consistent, if that makes sense. But it wasn't, but it wasn't a bad album. Like I said, it's a 7 out of 10. He still did his thing. He delivered a great piece of work. But like I said, this album's pretty good. Definitely go check it out if you're a Nav fan. Go run it up. But shout out to Nav, I'm proud of him for actually, doing a good job here. I was like a little scared in the beginning, but he came through. And then the last album that I want to talk about is Jessie Reyez, Paid in Memories. I've been anticipating this album for a minute. I love Jessie Reyez. I think she's a dope artist. So this has 21 songs. It's 55 minutes long. Features are leaking. I don't even know if I said your name right, so my bad. Then we got Saint Harrison, Lil Wayne, Miguel, Black, Lil Yachty, Diaz, Ari Lennox, and Big Sean. So this is basically like a double album, but for some reason this too only has 3 songs. So I thought that was kind of a little weird, but whatever. So like I said, I've personally been anticipating this album because I love Jessie Reyez. I think she's amazing. She's one of the best artists in R&B and just overall in my opinion. So track 1 is called I Never Said I Was Sane, and this is with Leakin. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. I apologize. It also features Saint Harrison. I love Saint Harrison. I think he's a great artist. He has such a great voice. I'm waiting for his debut album to drop ASAP. If you haven't heard his music, go check it out. Do yourself a favor. I love this opening. I love this track. It was a great way to start this album and introduce the theme of the album as well. She's basically like self-reflecting about her past and how she has done bad things and how she wants forgiveness. I really like the lyrics here, especially the one that says, lost some screws along the way to LA, where they pay me for my pain, so I made back what I lost. Which is true, a lot of people go through a lot of things and sometimes, money really does like help them heal, but in some cases, but for others, it's not really the case. Also, their labels don't care about like what's going on with the artist. They just want them to drop music to make more money and give them some bread. Track 2 is called Goliath, which was a nice follow up to the intro. This is a love song. She sings about the love she has for someone and explains things that she would do for them. I love the mood here because, it kept the same soft and vulnerable tone like the first track. Track 3 is New York Baby, NYB. This song was dope too, to be honest. It felt like a nice pop song, something that'll get you dancing. This track was super fun to listen to, and the production so far has been really great. Around the 130 mark, she kind of like changes to like modern like trap and B beat. and it was fire, but it was only for a few seconds. But regardless, it was still dope. And this song is really dope too. She released a video for this as well, so go check it out. The transition to the next song, Palo Santo, was smooth. This song is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. I loved how she sings in Spanish on the track. Whenever an artist does that on an R&B song, especially, I'm here for it. Which is why I love Kali Uchis. To be honest, she's one of my favorite artists. On here, she's basically, just singing about how she's been working. She wants to cut loose. Where the summer at, and of course, she wants to link with that person that she's feeling. I love how the song is called I love how the song is called Palo Santo. I love how the song is called Palo Santo because it refers to like a type of wood used for spiritual reasons, like cleansing, meditation, used to ward off negative energy. So she says this and then she says to clear my head, and she constantly repeats head, 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 head throughout the song, and it sounds very hypnotic and captivating. And this could also refer to her wanting to meet up with her sneaky link, like he's gonna cleanse her from herself, all that stress she got, which is also what I took from that as well, talking about him, her singing about the love that she desires. The next two tracks is Couldn't Be Me and Begging for Love. I feel like these go hand in hand because Couldn't Be Me is about her singing about a love she lost. It's basically a ballad where she sings about how certain situations, when it comes to toxic relationships, she wouldn't be in. And at the end of the song, there's a voicemail from Sam Smith who pretty much like encouraging her after a breakup. That kind of surprised me. I didn't expect to hear Sam Smith at the end. But this also goes into Begging for Love. The theme is also carried there. This track kind of gives more of a backstory to why, she broke up with the person. Just her feeling like she's not getting what she wants and what she deserves out of the relationship. I love the lyric where she's like, feel like I'm asking for too much, but really I'm asking the wrong one. I love the hook on here as well. Her flow on the song is really great. I enjoyed the delivery and I enjoyed her verses, and I love the background voices and vocals as well. Then the next two tracks are, I don't even know how to say this word. I'm gonna try my best. Psilocybin. I don't even know how to fucking say it, bro. I'm sorry. And Daisies, and then Riding. So again, this is like a pair of songs that I feel like go hand in hand since they play off each other. On the first, she's talking about doing, like shrooms and being next to the person she wants to be with. On the first, she's talking about, just doing like drugs and being next to the person she wants to be with. She wants to experience the trip with him. She wants to bond with him. It's basically like an open letter to them. I like the change of tempo here. It was an alternative rock sound, and I really like how she put it together. She also sampled the Smashing Pumpkins on this song. After that, it goes into writing, and this is another great song. She released this song and had a video for it back in August. It features Lil Wayne. This was an alternative track. Lil Wayne was giving like Rebirth vibes, just hopping on this beat. Thought that was dope. And this song is just basically about, her making love, just like how she was talking about it before. Track 10 is called Guess I Miss You. She keeps that alternative sound, but she reflects on past relationships as well on this track. So this is basically the aftermath of the previous tracks. She talks about missing someone constantly and stalking their social media pages to eventually hitting the person up. The track is pretty short, but it plays in track 11. Track 11 is probably another personal favorite of mine, to be honest. It's called Nights We'll Never Have. She sings about the person she wants but can't be with. She's comparing them to like guys who, can't really meet her expectations and aren't as good as the person that she wants. This song is pretty much for people who want to be with someone that they can't be with or aren't meant to be with. And her voice on this track was just perfect, for this type of song. You could really hear the emotions in her voice. The lyrics on this song are great as well. At this point, this album kind of reached 10 out of 10 for me. The track after that is called Jeans with Miguel. So this released before the album came out as well. This is another single. She released a video. You guys know how I feel about Miguel. I said it multiple times. He's one of my favorite R&B artists ever. This was a track that she released a while ago, and like y'all know what it is already. Their chemistry on this track was perfect. This was a solid collab, and I want him to make more music with her, to be honest. Track 12 is called Toronto Shorty. I love this beat. I love the guitar in the background. On here, she's basically talking about, a new love she found, and sings about how different it is from her past experiences and how good it makes her feel. She references her track Jeans, and she says, "Way you look at me is me in jeans looking at Miguel." I thought that was dope. Like, even she knows that they had crazy ass chemistry in that video and on that song. The next track is called Blessings. This is with Black. I love how she spelled it, just like how Black spells his name with a 6 instead of a B. She opens up the track singing Love Fool by the Cardigans. I love the vocals that she sampled in the background as well. The hook is very catchy. It's a really good song. She sings about how she's enjoying being loved. Not gonna lie, Black at first wasn't really hitting it for me. I didn't like how he came on the track. I feel like his energy or mood was kind of weird in the beginning for his first verse. It was different from Jesse's, but I did like how he came back, later on in the song. After that, he was on point. I don't know what happened in the beginning, but they both really did come together and give us a good song. The track after that is the Lil Yachty feature. It's called Head and Headaches. I love this because the beat, for some reason, reminded me of Benny and the Jets. This track was fun. I can tell her and Yachi had a good time recording this. Her voice sounds amazing, and the band, this entire album has been on point. Lil Yachty, on the other hand, was okay. I hate the autotune that he uses on his voice. I can't stand it. I don't think it sounds good at all. I hate the vibrato that he has when he tries to sing. It's so annoying to me. I think it's terrible in my opinion. And here she's singing about how damaged she is after the person left her. Jessie and Yachi to me feel like they're going back and forth really. It's like she's talking and he's responding to her with his verse. So I thought that was pretty cool too. The next song is called Been About a Year. This track was probably one of her most personal ones. She goes back to an alternative sound. She's reflecting on all the issues she has, going on for her, from her feeling depressed about her life and regardless of having the things that she, kind of desired in life, she's still feeling down. That things didn't go how she planned it. Then after that, we got Brother, and I feel like this one is one of the issues that she was talking about on her previous track. She basically made a song for her brother. Diaz is a feature, and I feel like he was taking that role on and responding to her with his verse. And I thought that was pretty dope. I found that very interesting. She basically just wants to rekindle that relationship that she lost, with her brother. The song after that is called Last One You Love. So it's called Loyal, Last One You Love. I like this song. I like the acronym as well. I think that was pretty cool. A lot of these songs are super relatable, and I feel like this is probably one of the most relatable tracks on this album. She basically is scared. She found someone she really loves. She doesn't want that person to hurt her or switch up on her because this is a big step for her, and she doesn't want that person to regret anything or say something that they'll take back or not feel anymore. Which I get. Everybody gets scared. Everybody's scared of loving someone that they really, are feeling. On this song, she speaks about how she doesn't want to be the person she is. She wants to be free from herself and be in a better place. All these experiences on her album really took, a lot on her, and it's eating her up inside, and she wants to just be free of it all. All that trauma, all those experiences. We've all had issues like that before. We've all been in that place where we're just like, dang, I don't want to be here right now. Like, all of this sucks. The next song is Just Like That with Ari Lennox. She released this song as a single as well. No, their collab is amazing. I love how the band is on here. I love how the beat switches up to a trap and beat song towards the end. The last song is called Shut Up, and she basically raps over a trap beat. The song features Big Sean. She's basically just flexing, to be honest. Like, she's talking her shit about why she does what she does when it comes to money because, she wants money. Big Sean was fired too. He floated on this. I think this is one of the best R&B albums of the year so far. I really love this album. Jessie Reyez sounds so good on here. I love her creativity when it comes to the music she makes. She's singing about past experiences, good or bad, heartbreak. It really stuck to the theme of the album and the title. All of these memories she made from these experiences, from bad ones that ended up turning into something good. This was like a perfect blend of good and bad because that's really what life is about. You could have you can't have one thing without the other. She was very vulnerable here, and you could hear it on her voice in some of these tracks. From the emotion that she just conveys when she's singing to the lyrics, the production was amazing. Like I said, this album is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is going on my top 10 list for this year, hands down. It's an album that I definitely could see myself going back to listen to. But shout out to Jessie Reyez for dropping a really good album, something that I feel like a lot of people needed. So go run it up. It's called Paid in Memories. And that brings us to the end of the episode. But that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Go listen to my other episodes as well. Go watch them. Show me some love on socials. All of my links are in the description below, from my Instagram to TikTok to my Spotify playlist. Share this with everybody. Share this with your friends, families, loved one, coworkers. If there's any music that you feel like I missed or that, you're working on or that you want me to check out, send it to me. And I hope you guys all enjoyed your weekend and have a great week ahead. Tune in for the next one. Peace.